tape on. Okay, we'll call the Tremont Planning Board meeting of June 13th to order at 6 p.m. Roll call. We have Brett Witham, we have Lawson Wilson, we have Beth Gott, myself, Mark Good, our town manager, Jesse Dunbar, our new Deputy Code Enforcement Officer, Sarah Abbott. Welcome aboard. And Jeff is not, gave notice that he wasn't going to be able to make it tonight, so I'll take a motion to excuse Jeff.
So moved.
You have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to excuse Jeff Young. All in favor? All right. Minutes, I don't see any reason to adjust the agenda unless somebody else does. Minutes look good to me. Betty, have any comments? They're pretty thorough.
I'll just add that the odd numbering down the side was on the PDF, the final document doesn't have those strange numbers.
Of the minutes.
Yeah.
Those are line numbers. It's not a problem. It's like a deposition transcript.
So it is in page 119.
That's fine. Looking for a motion?
Yeah, motion to
approve the minutes, yeah, so moved.
We have a second?
I wasn't here, so
I'll second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Motion and second on the table to approve the minutes of May 23rd. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? 3-0 with
One exception.
Lawson abstaining. Thank you. Okay. So Noel, you're up first here. You've updated this based on what we talked about the last time, I see.
Yes.
Seems like you did a good job.
I
Go
tried
ahead.
to format it a little bit so that we could see some of most of the strikes throughs and things that were deleted. I did not underline a lot of things that were added, some of them toward the end. So, yeah, basically what I did was went through comments from the last meeting and tried to adjust the ordinance based on what we talked about.
I did notice something that needed to be struck out.
Okay.
Page 5, under 7.3, failure to acquire or display the required short-term rental license number. We should strike out or include the license number in any advertising of the licensed premises, because on page 4, we did away with that under advertising,
Got it?
correct?
Yes.
And I also had a question about, under D, fines and penalties. Violations shall also be subject to fines and penalties as set forth in the penalty schedule established by the select board. I kind of tripped over the also, shall also, so what are you referring to? That under the beginning, it could be short-term, maybe conditions suspended, but also subject to fines?
Yes.
Are
We
you-
could probably take that out.
Can-
That was the,
Shall be subject or may be subject,
maybe we'll do maybe.
I don't know what, yeah.
I would just, I mean, shall is very.
Yeah, our attorney will look over before.
Yes.
He'll-
Well,
I'm sure he'll change everything we.
most likely, yes. We'll have to have a little meeting about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, is it still James?
Yep.
Okay. We should probably have a meeting sooner than later. So basically what I did was, I think we decided at the last meeting to stick with the larger text for the purpose statement. That
Yep.
was a little more meaningful to everybody.
Yep.
We're going to, for applicability purposes, this is a licensing ordinance that applies to any short-term rental. So I think that there was the provision that I had added in there, which I called the owner-occupied short-term rental, and I think the idea was to include those because this exercise is more of a documentation purpose, if I recall our conversation correctly. So those are the big deletions at the beginning. We are not gonna require, insurance, so to reflect for the record and for anybody who hears, who's paying attention to this right now, the first draft was a pretty comprehensive draft, and what we're working on right now is sort of making it a little more applicable to Tremont and what you really wanna try to get out of it. So we're taking out from the draft, requirement for insurance, evidence of insurance and those kinds of things. I cleaned up, just added some language to the inspection section, just to say, somebody mentioned that they wanted to make sure there was notice given 24 hours, I don't know if that was interesting.
Yeah, 24-hour notice you added, yeah.
Yep, and then, the notice requirement, sort of the wording that I had before was pretty good, I think I just made some changes at the end, so that's what that underlined part is under F, on page 3.
Is the idea that that notice would be a form,
Yeah, it's just, in my mind,
a
it's
sort of
like
standardized form that the town would provide?
Yep,
You fill that out and
put it,
post it,
just have a little.
like a building permit.
Yep. And then, we added street numbers if applicable. I redid some of the language around smoke detector, carbon monoxide detectors and fuel gas detectors, so I actually went to the statute and used the terminology that they use and then referenced the statute. And this is where, James may have some different opinions on how we do this, but sometimes in ordinance language, you do add, if you're referencing state statute, you do add as amended from time to time, just because it covers you. So I did it one way in the top part and a different way in the bottom part, but we're probably gonna make that consistent. We took out
You
some.
mean under fuel gas detectors added, maybe amended from
Yeah,
time to time?
we may want to, we're gonna, it'll be consistent for both of those sections, so we may wanna say as may be amended from time to time in both of them, or we may not include that at all, but that's a question I would go over with James, however you guys like to word that. Under advertising, yes, we deleted it for, thought, the end sentence about it being consistent. We took out the sanitary waste requirement, we took out the evacuation plan requirement, the insurance requirement, we didn't deal with noise or minimum night stays. I did go into the ordinance, I think there was a question about, in the ordinance, we do have a
Transient rentals, yes.
Yep, so I'm pretty sure I addressed that.
Sorry,
Fines and penalties.
how do you think you addressed that? I just missed.
I think the term transient, I might have taken out, I'm just trying to see what it was, but no, I actually spent quite a bit of time trying to figure that one out.
Yeah, that's right, you weren't at the last meeting.
Right, so
Yeah.
I'm,
Well, in the definition of a short-term rental, in the original version, there was, yes, I did read it. So in the definition of short-term rental, the definition actually reads, or read, the use, control, management, or operation of a legally existing dwelling unit offered in whole or in part for rent or transient occupancy.
I see, yep.
And, I just took out occupancy. I'm not really sure it makes a difference at transient in this ordinance as it relates to the land use ordinance, but we could take it out to try to alleviate
Clearly.
confusion.
Okay, fine.
Let's see. I think the other question I was still stewing on had to do with smoke detectors. And I just pretty much kept, so the question at the last meeting was, how do we define a sleeping area?
That's right, yeah.
Yep. And so I made some adjustments that actually didn't get marked here, but the original version says smoke alarms shall be installed in each bedroom, outside each separate sleeping area in the immediate vicinity of the bedrooms, and on each additional story of the short-term rental unit, including basements and habitable attics. So I just changed it to smoke alarms shall be installed in each bedroom outside each area used for sleeping and on each story for short-term rental unit. Try to clarify. It's probably not quite right, but. And that was it. So again, I think philosophically, we had, throw everything at it for a licensing ordinance, and now we're really kind of trying to tailor it a little more toward what you guys are looking for.
Board, any comments or questions?
Yeah. And I just don't recollect. Where did we land in terms of fees? Like, this isn't just a data gathering exercise. People are paying
A fee, but fees are set by selectmen. We don't, yeah.
Yep.
So we would have nothing to do with setting the fees.
So what I was thinking about that, and we have fee examples, and we have a draft, application form.
Yeah.
And my suggestion would be, we have a public hearing, which we're supposed to have a meeting. I think the next meeting we're gonna have would be a public meeting, not a hearing. And then maybe we have a conversation, so we can bring some examples to the board. It would be helpful maybe to the board of selectmen, if we said, we would recommend something along the lines of. And then we can have a conversation.
Yeah, I raise it because I know we did remove, the exemption for, owner occupied short-term rentals.
Right.
But I feel like if there's a fee, if there's any scale, they probably, it just feels like that should be less than a fee. I just don't know, we want the data, I think, but I don't feel like, I guess it's for the select board to figure out, but I feel like.
You're saying that people with that sort of rental should pay less than someone that has.
I think, yes, I am. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay.
So in the fee structure, you could have, short-term rental, and you could have we could just call them owner-occupied short-term rentals and then define it right underneath there in the fee structure rather than the ordinance.
Yeah, okay. That was my own comment.
Yeah, and is that something you'll get with Jesse to discuss too, because,
I know
Yeah.
people, I mean.
he knows the money
Because I
better
feel
than
like
us.
that's like it's just a different.
Yeah, I would totally put it in a different category. I think it could be okay to have a fee, but it would be like a pretty small nominal, like a
As opposed
$10 or
to
$15
some-
fee.
I just
But
feel-
it's not a hindrance, whereas if you're gonna have 10 or 15 rentals, then, I don't know, let's charge them $1,000 or something. I have no idea what the fee structure should be.
So, in some areas that we've done
Could be.
research for, they do have a scale where the fee goes up.
Goes up if you're-
I mean, for each additional unit is a different fee, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure we need that level, but again, I'm glad the select board can figure that one out. We don't have
But yes, we do
Yeah.
have that, and we do have an application form. And I don't think we'd be able to finish this until we finish this.
Right, right. So are we ready to send this to the public hearing?
Sure.
Could-
No.
I just would, I would offer that maybe in this case, we should call it a public meeting related
Yep.
to this, because we're still taking information in rather than a more formal terminology is important sometimes, so.
Yeah, but we need to hold a public hearing legally.
We do?
Yeah,
At some point, we do.
I
at
mean,
some point, so
do-
why would
we could do-
we hold a public meeting and a public hearing when we could just hold a public hearing? It's what-
Well,
Public hearing, we often get input on these things and change things, right? And then it goes to the selectmen for another public hearing.
So if this were an ordinance, I don't know how Tremont works, you correct me if I'm wrong, but normally, in other places I've worked, if you do a public hearing, and then you're gonna present something that's gonna get voted on, then you wouldn't be able to change it without doing another public hearing. So it would have to come back to the planning board to do another public hearing. In this situation, I think you're working on presenting an ordinance to the board of selectmen, who are really then taking it and pushing it forward as an ordinance. It's not a planning board ordinance per se, if that makes sense. It sits in one half,
probably-
it does in the other.
Yeah, I'd have to look at it, but you're probably, like with your land use ordinance, since that's your area, if you are amending it, you have to have a public hearing before it goes to the select board. But if this is just a separate standalone ordinance,
Well, you're saying we may not have
then
to?
you
Yeah,
might
we
not
probably
need
not,
to,
it would be,
but
probably be the select board would, cause then they kind of ask us to provide them with
Right.
recommendations.
So if they're
essentially.
gonna send it to voters.
Yeah,
they
we might not
have
need to have a
public
hearing, might just have a, get input and then send it up for them to,
Mhm.
I was thinking that's with the land use ordinance is what we've done, but
yeah, I don't
you're
think
saying
it's.
we don't need to do that?
Right, cause the land use ordinance describes in itself that in your amendment process, you have to have a public hearing. But that's in the ordinance, it says that.
And because this is separate, yeah.
In
And-
practice, we're gonna do the same exact, it doesn't matter, I
Right.
mean, however it'll be the same format, it's just the term hearing versus meeting, to me. If, because the short-term rental thing is a pretty emotional topic, it would be, the formality of a hearing says something to some people that is a little more fine.
No,
than, hey,
this is
let's
a
have
hearing to regulate.
to discuss short-term rental licensing ordinances, it's a, let's ratchet down the emotion a little bit, maybe, hopefully.
And would you suggest sort of preparing a version of the ordinance without the strike-throughs, the sort of, you know, the clean?
Yeah, they'll clean it up.
Just to
for us,
present
yeah.
to the
To-
select
to
board.
re- Well, just
No.
to the public
Well, have a
first,
public
to share
meeting,
that.
have a, yeah, share it, get
public. Or do you
feedback.
think that we would include
Yeah, I
the
would-
strike-throughs?
No, I think I would take this, take out the strike-throughs, have a clean version, I'm gonna put a watermark on the back that says draft, and then have
Yep.
some for discussion.
Yep.
You know, cause there's nothing set in stone yet, we could have a public meeting and people could make some really good, and often do make some really good comments that we're
Great.
gonna wanna then come back and talk about, and modify this before we send it to the board of selectmen.
Sounds fine to me, yeah.
Makes sense. I like it.
Sounds like a plan.
But when's the next meeting?
2 weeks?
27.
27th.
Yeah, I won't be here.
I think we had talked about August, right?
July.
Huh? July.
July, you know, don't forget July.
July
You're
11th.
not getting off that easy.
Oh, God, it's going by fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're talking about July, yeah.
July.
I can get with Jesse and we'll pick one of the July meetings. I don't know what other things are on your agenda, but like last time, our first
I'm
conversation.
not here the 11th. I don't think I have to be here, but it'd be nice to be at that meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
When's the second meeting in
The
July?
25th.
Yes.
I mean,
Will they give selectmen enough time to get it on the warrant if they,
Yeah, their deadline is September, beginning of September.
okay, they can have the public hearing, yeah.
After.
Twenty-fifth, you said?
sorry, Jesse, they could have the, after September 25th?
No, they need to decide on their warrant if they're having a special meeting, the first meeting in September. Their first meeting. They can have a public hearing after that, though.
They could, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's not a problem.
And so as long as we present to them by the end of August.
They currently just have one August meeting, but they need to have another, yeah.
Well, why don't we just shoot for that second meeting in July?
July 25th.
What is it, July 25th?
Yep.
I just put it in my calendar.
Great, thanks, Noel.
And that should be noticed, even though it's not a public hearing, right?
Yeah, local place.
Yeah, good,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I have found in the times that we've worked on these, that the public meeting is actually pretty informative, so see what happens.
Okay.
Any,
Anything else, folks, or questions for Noel?
did this draft seem reflective of what you were expecting?
I don't see where we're gonna do better at this point, you know, let's hear what the public has to say. I think it looks good to me.
Yeah, it's good.
I guess the one thing that I jumped out at me were the carbon monoxide and fuel gas detectors, that if I were a homeowner, since I am a homeowner, I'm not quite sure I would necessarily know exactly how to fill that out on the first pass. Maybe that's good if we want, if you're gonna rent out your space, you should learn about carbon monoxide and fuel gas detectors. to
Well,
make
when
it
you get insurance
Easy to
on your
figure it out.
property that you're renting, one of the requirements
Is
is,
to have that.
yes.
Great,
Yeah, and I think sometimes you run the risk of putting too much explanatory
Yeah,
information.
I don't think we
in
should
some
educate.
Statute that then changes and then.
Right, yep, great. If it's part of the homeowner insurance
Yeah,
checklists, then.
Yep.
That, I would stop that. Great.
Jesse, you want a motion for the schedule of that public meeting? Why not?
I'll make a motion to schedule a public meeting to discuss short-term rental licensing ordinance language for July 25th
Yeah, 5th.
at 6 o'clock here in the Harvey Village meeting room.
I'll second.
Motion and second on the table to schedule a public meeting on short-term rental licensing ordinance for July 25th, 6 PM, right here. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Unanimous? Okay. Thank you, Noel.
Thanks, appreciate
Yeah.
it.
I think that was productive, the meeting that we had the last time. Yeah.
That was good,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay. 6:21, I'll open the public hearing on Spruce Woods subdivision.
Sorry, before you do that, should I officially recuse, do I need to recuse myself since I missed
That's
the
right,
first
yeah.
discussion of this?
You didn't watch the video?
I did not watch the video. of
What the-
the
I had
last-
my whole PowerPoint presentation and everything.
I look forward to tuning in.
Yeah.
He brought a guitar and sang a song.
Sounds
Or was it a
great.
banjo? I don't know.
What did you know?
We have a quorum, without him, I guess, right?
What's
You
that?
could, you
We
could
have
have
a,
said,
we
well,
have
I
a
glanced
quorum
at
there,
it, you
the
probably would have
three.
been okay.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's germane or like, but
well, yeah,
in the spirit of, I don't know, following the rules.
if you don't mind sitting through this, I.
No, I'm happy to sit through it, but I'll keep my
Okay.
mouth shut.
I think that'd be
Recuse myself.
cleaner, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Next time, don't forget to watch the tape.
Read the minutes.
Sign the affidavit. Don't read the minutes. Okay. I open the public hearing. Any comments? Questions? Concerns? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing at 6:22. Okay. Okay. Findings of fact for said subdivision, Spruce Woods. We need a motion on each one, and the reason, I'll try to make it quick and I won't read it through everything. How's that? That'll make everybody happy. Pollution. Proposed subdivision will not result in undue water or air pollution.
I will move that this has been met because the proposed subdivision will not have an undue effect on water or air pollution, based on the fact that this just relocates a lot line and the wells and septics are existing.
I'll second.
Motion and second on the table to find the pollution condition has been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? 3-0. Sufficient water.
I will move this requirement met because the subdivision will not have any effect on water. It's just a simple lot line adjustment.
I'll second.
Motion is second on the table to find that sufficient water condition has been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? 3-0. Municipal water supply. An easy one.
Yeah, I'll move that this condition is not applicable. There is no public water supply available.
Second.
Motion and second on the table to find municipal water supply conditions not applicable for a stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Yep. 3-0. Of course, you might be able to tie it to the Silk Cove Water District there, you know. Still exists, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still there.
Erosion.
I will move that this condition is met. Again, this is a lot line move. There's no clearing proposed or excavation proposed, and so therefore no soil erosion will be caused.
Second.
Motion and second on the table to find the erosion condition has been met because no clearing is proposed that would cause any erosion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? 3-0. Traffic.
I'll move this condition is met as the proposed subdivision will not cause unreasonable highway or public road congestion, again, due to the fact that we're just relocating lot lines.
I'll second.
Motion and second on the table to find the traffic condition has been met for stated reason. All in favor? 3-0. Sewage disposal.
I'll move that this condition is met. The test pit information was provided and made part of the application and met the requirements.
Second.
Motion and second on the table to find the sewage disposal condition has been met for the stated reason. All in favor? 3-0 again. Municipal solid waste disposal.
I'll move that this condition is met because it will not affect the disposal of solid waste.
I'll second.
Motion and second on the table to find the municipal solid waste disposal condition has been met. Stated reason. All in favor? 3-0. Aesthetic, cultural, and natural values.
I'll move that this condition is met. Again, this is a lot line move and will not have any impact or adverse impact on the aesthetics or historic sites or anything within that condition.
I'll second.
Motion and second on the table to find that the, that condition has been met for the stated reason. All in favor? 3-0. Conformity with local ordinances and plans.
I will move that that condition is met because the proposed subdivision, which consists of relocation of a lot line, conforms with with our ordinance.
I'll second.
Motion and second on the table to find the conformity of local ordinances and plans condition has been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? 3-0. Financial and technical capacity.
It's Finnacle.
But, oh, yeah. I saw that before and I was reading through this and I made a note
Which
to
is a
myself not to say anything. To let it pass, I knew I had to bring it up.
I'm like, there's Finnacle, it came back.
Well, what is the physical and technical capacity of it?
I will move that the financial and technical capacity condition is met. The applicant is not proposing any roads or any additional development. Again, it's just the relocation of lot line.
I'll second.
Motion is second on the table that the financial and technical capacity condition has been met for the stated reason. All in favor? 3-0 again. Favor, surface waters, outstanding river segments.
I'll move that this condition is not applicable. No portion of this proposed subdivision is within the watershed of any pond or lake.
Second.
Motion and second on the table to find this condition has been met because no portion of subdivision is in the watershed of any pond or lake. All in favor? 3-0. Okay, groundwater.
I'll move that this condition is met. The proposed subdivision will not affect the quality or quantity of groundwater. The existing single-family residence will not adversely affect groundwater as well.
I'll second.
Motion second on the table to find the groundwater condition has been met for the stated reason. All in favor? 3-0. Flood areas.
I'll move this condition is met as there's no proposal of any principal structures being built within the flood zone.
I'll second.
Motion and second on the table to find the flood area condition has been met because no principal structures will be built within the flood zone. All in favor? 3-0. Freshwater wetlands.
I will make a motion that this condition is met, as all freshwater wetlands have been identified on the plan submitted as part of the application, and it was addressed as part of our review.
I'll second.
Motion and second on the table to find the freshwater wetland condition has been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Okay, river, stream, or brook.
I'll move that this condition has been met, as no stream, or maybe not applicable, as no stream has been identified on the plan submitted as part of the application.
Yeah, it's one of those, could be go either way, not applicable or met.
it's
Yeah.
met.
I'll
Did you
second.
Okay, motion and second on the table that the river, stream, or brook condition has been met for the stated reason. All in favor? Okay, stormwater.
I will move that this condition is met as the proposed subdivision will follow best practices for adequate stormwater management for any future development, and at this time, none is proposed.
Second.
Motion and second on the tables that the stormwater condition has been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? 3-0. Spaghetti lots prohibited.
I'll move this condition is met because as proposed, none of the lots created have a depth to shore frontage ratio greater than 5:1.
I'll second.
Motion and second on the table that the spaghetti lots prohibited condition has been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? 3-0. Lake phosphorus concentration.
I'll move that this condition is not applicable as no portion of the proposed amendment in the subdivision application is located near a great pond.
I'll second.
Lake phosphorus concentration condition has been met or is not applicable for the stated reason. We have a motion to that effect. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? 3-0. Impact on adjoining municipality.
I move it's not applicable as no portion of the proposed subdivision crosses municipal boundaries.
I'll second.
Motion is second on the table to find that the impact on adjoining municipality condition is not applicable because no part of the subdivision crosses municipal boundaries. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? 3-0. Land subject to liquidation harvesting.
I'll move that this condition is met as the application doesn't propose any timber harvesting on the parcel.
I'll second.
Motion is second on the table to find the land subject to liquidation harvesting condition has been met because no timber harvest has occurred on the parcel. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Okay. And now we need a motion to approve the subdivision application for Spruce Woods subdivision. Maybe have the tax map on there too. It's right at the end. Look at the last page.
Oh,
I will move that we approve the subdivision application for the Sprucewood subdivision tax map 011 lot 047C.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second on the table to approve the subdivision application for Sprucewood subdivision tax map 011 lot 047C. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? 3-0. All right. A lot of work to move a line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
What is the subdivision? They're moving.
They're just moving, it's one of these ones where they're like,
The only reason it,
Between 47C, does it show up on?
yeah, we have, well, you know,
Yeah, I have it.
unless that number is wrong, yeah, it's, yeah.
No, right here.
What do you want, the tax map?
Well, I got a tax map, but is that all we got? Is there not a survey?
Oh, yeah, we've got all that stuff.
Okay. But
Right here. Oh, you got a big one.
I got the big one.
Yeah.
The only reason it triggered subdivision review was because of.
Been within 5 years or
Within
something
5
like that.
years that it sold, so.
got it.
You have what you need?
Weird lot.
Yeah, I just talked to
Okay.
Jesse about it.
Yeah.
Jesse,
And
okay.
then there's
So we're
this
gonna have
too.
to,
That's-
sign copies?
That's to the problem of the guy who's
Yeah.
buying this.
Got it. All right. Cool.
Okay. I was like, I said I'll go back through my old messages. I might take those for.
Okay, new business. Are you Johanna? No, okay. Hi. You're here to talk to us about the community resilience plan. I understand that you're talking to all the boards and committees.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
So, Jess, are you okay if I just?
Yes.
So the town of Tremont has contracted with the Climate to Thrive, supported entirely by a grant through the state's Community Resilience Partnership to create a community resilience plan for the town. This is something that was highlighted in the climate resolution, or I can't remember the exact phrase, for the town of process of drafting it, as you mentioned, we're talking with the various different boards and committees, including the town. So the plan will basically highlight different ways in which the town can prepare itself for climate-related impacts, like sea level rise, extreme weather events, extreme heat, and other impacts that will accompany changes that we expect to see. In addition to the drafting of the community resilience plan, the town is also about to begin a vulnerability assessment with the Gulf of Maine Research Institute, and that the findings of that assessment will greatly inform the plan, because it will highlight specifically vulnerable infrastructure, specifically vulnerable populations, specific impacts that the working waterfront community can expect to experience, and that assessment is also funded by the same grant from the state. So the plan itself will look at infrastructure, it will look at land use, it will look at vulnerable populations, it will look at the working waterfront, and identify different types of activities and different funding sources that the town could use to build resilience, essentially. And is meant to be integrated with and really work well with the comprehensive plan, but add some more specific layering around climate-related impacts. So I have.
You do know that we're in the midst of developing a comprehensive plan.
Do, and
Okay.
I look forward to talking to the
And
comprehensive.
and it's getting pretty close to being complete.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You and everyone else on the island, so it's a good time. It's a very good time to be doing both, essentially. So I have questions, if that's okay, that I'd love just a little bit of feedback from you guys, based on the hat that you wear for the town and your experience wearing that hat. So curious about just what briefly comes to mind after hearing just a little bit about what we're trying to do, how this type of a plan could help the planning board, in the work that you do for the town of Tremont. Are there specific ways in which you could see it being helpful for you?
Would have to be incorporated into an ordinance for us to even do anything about it, so.
And there could be ordinances that are pointed out within the resilience plan. That could be the type of thing, is this, this ordinance that has been implemented in other coastal communities could be very helpful in improving resilience in this manner. So if it were to suggest ordinances, what are ways in which it might be able to do so in a way that would be very helpful for the planning board, for example?
It seems like sort of identifying, I don't know, half dozen, whatever the sort of the ordinances that could be applicable, and hierarchy or ranking them so that we know where to focus our energies, and then also pointing us or providing some case studies or success stories or references to other communities that have led the way, or consultants, so we know. It would be useful to have a recommended first or next steps for exploring ordinance X, Y, and Z.
Great. Any other thoughts of how the plan itself could be helpful?
Well, I have a concern, and.
Yeah, that's a question too, so I can just jump right to that one, whatever you have to share.
As you know, we're doing the comprehensive plan, and some of the things that you're talking about are also being addressed in the comprehensive plan. So what happens if what you're recommending might differ from what's in the comprehensive plan?
Well, I think that's why we'd like to talk to the comprehensive planning committee, and also at various points within this process, the plan is meant to be shared back with committees, and that's another question I have for you, is at what points would you want us to come back to you? And so the comprehensive planning committee in particular should be looking very closely at like early outline.
You're looking at 3
draft.
members of the comprehensive plan committee right
Yes,
here,
perfect.
okay?
I think we've reached out and haven't heard anything.
On Thursday, we're gonna review the draft of the comprehensive plan itself. So it seems like in a way, you're coming a little late to the game comprehensive plan.
Whoa,
It's
whoa, whoa, whoa.
totally fine.
Well, it is
The
kind of late
process.
actually, but the good news is that there's all kinds of opportunity for the public. I mean, we haven't gotten to any of the points where the
Yep.
public can
Yeah.
provide input.
Right.
So that's where I would expect that
Yep.
various
Totally.
interests would present their concerns or questions or concerns on the plan that's already been pretty much done.
during that public process.
And we're not an interest, so we're contracted by the town to write this. This is the town's interest.
Yeah.
So I have no feelings about what the town should do in their comprehensive plan or what they should do in their community resilience plan. I'm just contracted to write this. But I will say that many, many other towns throughout the state are doing both community resilience plans or climate action plans, or, something along those lines to prepare more in-depth for resilience, and comprehensive plans, because they are different animals. Like, you would have a more detailed plan for something specific that you're wanting to do within your community in addition to the comprehensive plan.
I'm
So
not
that is-
negating your work in any way. I think
Yeah,
it's
I'm not
important.
either. It's just like,
I think
No,
you-
I know.
We've been on this thing for like almost
Oh,
3
God,
years.
I know, I know.
There's no way it's going back and starting.
I know.
No way.
This is
It'll be my
not,
last day on the comprehensive plan.
it is not intended to create any extra work for the comprehensive planning committee or anybody, truly. It is not intended to create extra work. What it's intended to do is be a resource that, for example, if you are like, oh, it would be really great to know which of our bridges are most vulnerable and what are good funding resources for us to be able to fund replacing those bridges and improving them, and what would be like the first actions, like Lawson said, to take. You can open up the plan and say, oh, it says right here, like, these are the bridges, here's the funding resources, here's the first phone number to call. Like, just make life easier, basically, related to, and there's so many funding opportunities out there right now, and what a lot of small towns are finding is that they're kind of like haphazardly having to navigate getting hit by like this email announcing this resource, or this newsletter announcing this other resource. And if you have a plan saying, here's kind of the top level things that relate to your town, and here's how you could go about attending to them, it makes it a little bit more strategic and optimal. And it's the type of work that often, like, a comprehensive plan might not have that kind of level of detail, and so you can get a little bit more detail in someone like Jesse's hands, where he can say, okay, here's kind of a roadmap. And it could include some ordinances, and that's why, I want to talk to you all, because I know that's where you live, with the planning board, but.
It's hard to give input without having a plan before us.
Totally, but we want to hear from you about your work before we write the plan, because if we've written the plan and then it's like, well, it would have been good to know that the planning board thinks like this, or, wants this, it's better to know beforehand if we can accommodate some of those. So I can move on to other questions.
Well,
if that's helpful.
before you
Yeah.
leave the sort of what would be helpful, I think the other, in addition to new ordinances, since you asked, it would be awesome to have your thoughts on our existing ordinances, and if there are places in there that are not as resilient as they could be or should be, to be able to highlight those. And I don't know which ones would be applicable.
And also within that, it would be helpful to highlight them and say, well, in the level of importance, here's the one that's most.
Exactly,
like,
and like,
helpful,
before you
potentially.
spend a lot of time on a solar ordinance, what
Right.
you really should do is look
Right.
at your wetlands
Right, exactly,
criteria for subdivisions or whatever it is.
great.
Did you have a comment, Jesse?
Yeah, I was just gonna add that while both the comp plan and this plan are currently in development, the comp plan is further ahead and will be finishing before this one is, finishing. But I think the comp plan is basically an overall direction for the town. So the resilience plan can look to the comp plan,
Exactly.
even whether it's, finished in a week or finished 2 weeks ago, but to look at that and just, it's supposed to recommend and direct anything that we do. So they're not gonna put in certain things in the
That's
resilience
at
plan
odds,
if
yeah.
it's at odds with the comp plan. If there's some
That would make sense.
subject they're looking at, they're gonna look at the brand new comp plan and say, does this recommend we go down this path near this, topic, or does it recommend we stay away from it? So, I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think this resilience plan is going to change the comp plan. It's just to get feedback from the comp plan.
Yeah, but the comp plan can change the ordinance.
Mhm. Mhm.
Wait, say it again?
The comp plan can change the ordinance
Well,
from
comp plan
recommendations there, or ordinance.
would right, would
Yeah.
advise us to.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
So for example, if we
not
see-
specifically, but I mean, in
Yes.
general, yeah,
Right.
give us guidance on
Yeah.
what we need to do.
Right,
Yeah.
for example, if we see something that's being really highlighted in the comp plan that also is something we're considering, great, that's good signal that it's an area to give more detail on. If we are thinking about something and we don't see it, or we see something that kind of negates it in the comp plan, then that's probably not an area that's as important to Tremont at this time. Yeah. So other questions? Are there any like specific strategies or solutions as you think about Tremont that you would like to see included in this type of a plan? And again, there'll be an opportunity to give feedback when there's an actual draft, but this is just to get feedback.
The first thing that comes to my mind, and I'm not quite sure exactly how it relates, but that's fine, that's your work, is about natural resources, and that's because I just helped, I don't know, I looked at the natural resources chapter of the comp plan. And Sarah and I, and Sarah's also the comp plan, looked a little bit at our ordinances, although not very much. And I think we had some recommendations in the comp plan to say, like, look at the ordinances more and make sure that they're, I don't know, protecting our wetlands and our natural resources, or something along those
Yeah.
lines, but didn't have a lot of meat to it. To our
That's actually a
recommendations.
great
So-
example of where like this plan could give more detail
And
at something that you're already talking about.
yeah, and there's, I mean, I think that there's like, part of the comp plan goals is about conservation. That seems great and sort of aligned with our town. I'm not quite sure exactly how that relates to resilience,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe there's some overlap, and maybe they're separate goals, but
Yep,
I'd be curious to know
great,
from a resilience standpoint.
right, exactly, which might consider things like specific wetlands or specific shoreline natural infrastructure that might be helpful for flooding,
Great.
for example.
Yeah.
Great.
I guess I've not seen, maybe I have it somewhere, what exactly did the town to contract with the climate threat? Do we have that document that describes what they're doing somewhere?
Yep,
Where would that be?
I have it too.
I was say I'd have to email it.
Has anyone seen that here?
Not here.
I haven't, what has been a decision by the Board of Selectmen, I believe, so they would have the contract.
Yep,
Yeah.
Okay.
yep.
Would that be on the town website? Because I feel like I'm like, I have no context for this discussion.
I don't think.
I feel like you're asking us things that we haven't had time to even think about, okay? And
Yeah, if you have.
and unless we have something a little more concrete, it is kind of hard to.
It's on the town website maybe, or some discussion about it.
And it's also fun, like, what I'm hearing from Austin is really helpful, and if you have no feedback and nothing you want us to be thinking about as we're drafting, that's fun too. But it felt like very important step to talk to, like, we're talking to different town staff people, and get anything that you're seeing come before you, like, to know that you're talking about, natural resource planning is very helpful for us to say, okay, it's a conversation that's being had, but they need more level of detail, then we can know to like consider that type of level of detail. We could also write this with no input, but then it would be much less likely to align with Tremont's actual work and priorities and probably be a lot less useful to you guys, so.
When do you expect this to be completed?
With the drafting will be complete in early fall. And so then there'll be another round of getting input based on the actual draft itself. I can shoot some other questions. I've heard concerns. Are there any other concerns that you have about the plan or planning process? We've been getting great feedback in community listening sessions. We've gotten individual feedback from community members.
I don't have anything to add. Anybody else?
I just kind of feel blindsided.
Yeah, well, yeah. Because.
I just don't
It's an
know what
introduction.
I'm talking about. I mean, I
That's-
don't know.
I don't think, I mean, I would say like, this is a great, like, Johanna came, she introduced the idea to us tonight. That's great. you don't need to have something to say necessarily.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
totally
Like,
don't
that's
have to
fine,
have anything to say.
you know.
We did a similar process with the town of Mount Desert and talked to staff and kind of got their feedback and concerns and input while we were drafting and then brought it back to them. And some folks had a lot to say and some folks didn't have a lot to say, and that's totally fine. And just to outline a bit more about the process right now is the collecting of input from town members. So we've had listening sessions, and we're having these meetings with committees, individual meetings with stakeholders, staff members, and other leadership at the town level. And then the drafting will happen during the summer months and into September, and then the draft will be completed and will be brought back to folks. Also community-wide listening sessions for input and feedback to sharpen it, make sure it really resonates with the town's priorities, and then the final draft will be brought back to the town like around March of next year. And be there as a document to be used to help the town identify next steps.
Yeah, it would have to be approved at the town meeting.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to hearing more about it when you get more information and a draft.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Jesse can share around, or I can share around the document outlining the rest of the process, but.
Yeah, I can move on the board to that.
Great.
Anybody else?
If you have time for one more question, this
Yeah,
is
sure.
like one that you might have thoughts about. Are there populations or groups of people in the community that you are concerned, about their vulnerability in the face of these types of impacts? Or are
Certainly
there?
fishermen,
Yeah, exactly.
or anybody that uses the waterfront.
Mhm. Yeah, that's been a clear priority. Any others as well?
I don't know how far what you're doing extends. The school is in a bad position there. You know, if the marsh stream would happen to flood.
In terms of flooding, definitely there are a handful of houses that I know of and some close friends who live in them that are very low and flood when at high tides
Already. Yeah.
already. And so, you know, I guess that, like, the population for people who live below whatever that sea level or, you know, elevation is, which is 5 feet, 10 feet.
It's like the condos at the old sardine factory that you can't use the bottom
Bottom
level
floor.
because it could flood.
Right, yeah, which is, yeah.
And the nice thing about the vulnerability assessment is that it's gonna map in detail what you might see related to that, and which buildings you're gonna see the direct impacts to. Then on the flip side of that, and this will be last question, thank you again for your time, are there groups, of folks or resources in Tremont that you have seen be very successful at serving vulnerable populations? So existing strengths to draw on.
The school jumps to my mind as in terms
Like
of.
the greater school community, or?
Yeah, and sort of the consolidated school and its outreach to, specifically to, families with young children, which is, I think, somewhat, I guess I would put that in the category of a vulnerable population.
Mhm.
I think the school's a good conduit for reaching that.
Mhm. Any other resources?
I'm not sure exactly what a vulnerable population is. I mean,
Yeah.
I could think of examples, but I don't know what you're referring to in our community,
No, I mean, you were spot on.
other than the fishermen.
Right, you're spot on with the working waterfront community. Older populations can often be vulnerable populations, young folks, people who might be vulnerable to the sea level rise, so homes that are right there that might not have the resources to adapt, folks that might be particularly vulnerable to high heat occurrences and might not have existing cooling in their homes, and then maybe homes or populations that are really vulnerable when the power goes out for a longer period of time. Those types of impacts and people are kind of looking about.
sorry that we're not
No,
more
this
helpful
is
at this
great,
point,
no,
but.
it's good, it's good, and it points to the need to make sure you all get a,
The support system is called Harbor Barter and Swap.
Yeah.
It really is. People are without power, you get on there, someone's there with a generator.
I-
Whether you want support or not.
no, we
I
laugh,
mean,
but
It's
truly,
Yeah.
truly, right?
yeah.
Like, I remember posting on there the last hour saying, I have power, anybody wanna come over?
That's
Like,
exactly
Well,
right, so I'm thinking about.
there are
like,
people
God,
in,
support's like
you know,
Harbor Barter
places
Swap.
that do have power, you know, like Harbor House or something might set up a warming shelter or a church.
Yes,
I
yeah.
mean, there's those things going on, but
Has that happened, like,
organized, I don't know.
in Tremont, has there, that kind of a place that's been used for that?
There has, I mean,
Community.
we offered it here this winter,
Here,
but,
okay.
and we can, but we,
This is pretty much designated the emergency shelter, right?
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
Yeah,
the costs are for that.
yeah. Well, that, I thought that was for you to take a nap during the day.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. This is
Thank you, yeah.
more
We look
helpful
forward
than
to-
I think you realize,
Yeah.
so. Thank you.
Okay. Set date for the next meeting? June 27th?
I'll make a motion to schedule the next meeting for June 27th at 6 p.m.
Second?
Motion and second to schedule the next meeting, June 27th, 6 p.m., right here at the Harvey Kelly Meeting Room. All in favor? Okay. And I'll take a motion to adjourn at 6:56.
I'll second it. So moved. Oh, I
Did you,
second.
did you
So
second the
moved.
request for a vote?
So moved.
So somebody make the motion. You made the motion.
I made the motion.
Okay, she made the motion to adjourn. Who seconded?
I'll second it.
Okay.
You're back in for that one?
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess I never officially.
Yeah, all in favor? 4-0. Okay. Great, thanks.
Did you see
So if I
Bree's email
Googled
from
this stuff,
Connor
like
Drive?
the climate resilient, community resilient plan or climate drive